I'm sitting here with Michael Lazzaro, the CEO and founder of Buddy Media. Buddy Media is a company that's on the lips of many in the industry because they just celebrated their 4th anniversary and already have a valuation of $500 million, which is an amazing accomplishment.
It's a lot of money, right?
In 4 years.
And then we didn't even announce those $500 million. That's what people say.
Yeah, and from what I understand, you also are dealing with 8 out of the top 10 brands.
We are.
And have quite a number of Fortune 500 brands.
I think it's 9 now, but we can't change our marketing. So
it seems like you started as an agency to help people with their social media strategies, but developed into a platform for social CRM, to help people organize their social presence and their communications with their consumers through social spaces. Is that right? So in the paid, owned, earned media construct, you guys are the owned, right?
Exactly. I mean, we're really earned and owned.
Yeah.
And so we started in true startup form trying to figure out a business model. And I wish that being an agency was the only thing we tried, because that actually was going pretty well. We were an ad network, we were virtual currency, we tried all these things because don't forget, Facebook had 30 million people, and we kind of think of Facebook as a huge platform today, but back then they were the number 6th or 7th. And so no one knew what was going to happen and how fast it would happen. And so we started with all these business models, including an agency model, and quickly in March of 2009 launched our enterprise software product, which was the Buddy Media platform, which is now the suite of products that we have. And we primarily serve the large enterprises, so the largest marketers in the world, but we also work with the top retailers and publishers and anyone who wants to really connect with consumers.
So it's an interesting business strategy. You kept on adapting until you hit the right business model.
Yeah.
And then you went with that. Do you think that's normal? I mean, do you think that other people should take a page out of that book? Is that sort of part of the secret to your success, or
it's
is it
easier
sort of
not,
unique to your situation?
It's easier not to have to, I think they call it pivot in business school. I didn't go to business school. It's easier to figure it out the first time. I'm just not that smart. And if I knew the way this was going to go, I would have done the right thing at the beginning. We're not all Mark Zuckerberg, who just comes up with a really intuitive idea and runs with it, and that's his business. Most businesses that survive go through different pivots. So if I ask you, what did Nokia make when they started, what would you say?
Well, I know of Nokia as cell
they make
phones,
rubber
but,
boots. They made rubber boots for 20 years.
Okay.
And BMW made airplane engines, and Sony made rice cookers. So businesses that have long-term value have to innovate and change when things aren't working out.
There you go. Facebook. People who are familiar with Buddy Media, I think Facebook, which is not a bad star,
It's great, right?
Wagon to hit your star to. But is Facebook the primary platform? That's not all you're doing, is it?
So Facebook, they think of us as Facebook because we marketed ourselves as Facebook. It was Facebook Power Tools in airports and in Adweek and in Ad Age. And we did that for a very strategic reason, which was Facebook was taking off. It represents 30% of all the ad impressions in the US on one platform. And so we wanted to kind of get that right before we started doing other things. Now we're spending most of our time outside of Facebook. So Facebook.com is still a very important part of our business, with helping kind of companies launch their pages and moderate their walls and publish to the walls and publish to the Open Graph and all the analytics behind that. But we were one of the first 4 partners on LinkedIn, which was announced 2 weeks ago at Internet Week, and we're one of 4. We're the only company of our kind doing that. We have a product called Reach Buddy, which brings the power of Facebook and Twitter to any website. So if you want to launch social experiences on a website, and we're probably doing as much with kind of Twitter and other platforms in terms of our product innovation as we are with Facebook. So we want to remain number 1 in Facebook. But we've changed from Facebook Power Tools to Power Your Connections. So powering these connections with people all over the world.
I mean, what percentage of activity would you say Facebook represents in that mix?
Well, Facebook represents 30% of all web activity in the U.S., so it's a big part of what we do.
Right.
And it will always be a big part. We love Facebook. We have 4 shared investors. We've gotten to be very close friends. In many ways, we do a lot of the work that they don't want to do. which is the enterprise software piece of it, which they don't want to dedicate their tech team to do. But we also are very active with Twitter. We're very active with just the web. The web's big still, yes. And we're now going really deep in other platforms as well, which we'll be announcing sooner rather than later probably.
Well, you guys are so deep into social media programs, and you've got there very early, and I'm sure you've seen everything and play the role of consultant, whether you want to or not, to your clients. What are the big do's and don'ts? When somebody is starting with social media, what do you tell them, are the watch outs, and what are the things that they must do?
I think the biggest thing that we've realized in terms of driving success is this always on mentality that we talk about a lot, always on media. And what we're doing is closer to, like, as Ron Ferris from Virgin Mobile, a client, said, newsroom marketing. So you're in there every day saying what's going on, how are people responding, what's going on in our communities, and how do we kind of continue to engage. And you're doing campaigns every day and not like once every 3 months. And you're really kind of fully integrating paid, owned, and earned on one platform, meaning Facebook, Twitter, some others. Like, that's your social network, so to speak. That's your virtual, representation of real life relationships. Right. And so you look at it as kind of campaigns as one part of it to get the conversation flowing, but it's the everyday stuff. And there isn't one thing that our clients who've had success do. It's the commitment. The only thing that, and we analyze, like, what is common between the companies that are really getting it, and in our world, kind of just like powering up those connections. And it's that they've invested in kind of people internally, like people at their business who are creating change, who are innovating, who basically are saying, this is where we have to be, and pushing their company forward. Because the hardest part isn't what technology to pick and, what to buy on Facebook and, right. Whether to use Hootsuite versus, other platforms or our platform. It's basically, how do we do this from a
starting a relationship and continuing it,
and
right?
Who does it? Yeah. And you can't automate it, so it costs money to hire the people, and that's where most of the money should go.
All right, a final question. It's a big year for you. You just got $54 million in funding for additional growth. So to me, that suggests there is a vision beyond what Buddy Media is doing today. Where's this going to take you?
Yeah, so we've raised $90 million total, which we did just because we know it's going to be a competitive space, and acquisitions are a big part of our business. We opened up Singapore and San Francisco, so we've just blocking and tackling that you have to do when you want to be a part of internet infrastructure, which is a big part of what we want to do. And so of that 90 million, we have over 70 left. So it's not like we've invested a ton in the money into the business. A lot of the money's gone toward like one-time stuff and marketing and acquisitions. And so we're profitable from an operating standpoint, and it's really growth capital. And when we look at what are we going to do, it's really this vision that there are two types of companies. There are companies that are going to power their connections, power up their connections, empower their connections, and there are companies that are going to let them die. And so we want to help our companies and our clients kind of power their connections. And that means it's Facebook plus other platforms, it's the web, it's in-store, it's all of these other opportunities, and we're not even at the end of the first inning. So
that's right.
There's so much we can do to help our clients and grow like a monster business, that why not raise the money and just go for it?
Right. It seems like the opportunities are endless.
I would love it.
I'm really glad I got to talk to you tonight.
Thanks
Congratulations on your
Thank
success
you.
so far, and I'm sure even after this I'll be able to say I knew you win.
Thank you. I appreciate it.